Hi, I wanted to share with you another, it's actually one of my favorite Montessori materials that we have because it's really simple and basic, but I think it's one of those lessons that has a lot involved even in its simplicity. We call it pin pushing. So I will tell you ahead of time, this is one that especially at home and with little children, they will probably need to be supervised for this one. But once your child is engaged in this lesson, I think you'll see that it brings out a lot of attention and focus and that stamina of completing a work till the end. It's a very calming work, I think. I find I sometimes pull out pin pushing just because it's a very centering kind of calming work. So you need to gather some things, and you might even want to try this one without your kiddos beforehand, just to kind of make sure you're comfortable with it first. But what I put together was I used one of my cutting boards, and I used a cloth that I had. We've used sometimes like carpet pieces in classrooms, or maybe a piece of cork. It might be a little sticky, but something where the pin can go through, but you're not going to damage anything. So I kind of set this up so that I had a space that's a hard surface to work on and then a soft surface to work on. As far as what to pin push, it can be anything. In a Montessori classroom, sometimes we would use the metal insets. You'll hear the kids say that they did the metal inset lesson, and part of that is we can do pin pushing with that. We do it with the map pieces. So if your child does a map of the world, they can pin push out the corresponding color to the map and then glue it on, and they're actually really beautiful works. So because we're stuck at home, we're going to use things from home. So what I found was I was going to do shapes, and I found this little lid. I found a little box that's a nice rectangle shape. You could use puzzle pieces that you had at home. You could trace anything. You could trace their hand. It's just, you don't want it to be too big because it is kind of time consuming. So what you would do is hold down your shape, and the child can trace it. Colored pencils are great because it's just a nice medium to use. And then you want to pick out what the tool that they're going to use to pin push. So I thought of a couple of ideas walking around my house. You could do a safety pin. This probably is not my favorite just because of the design. I mean, you're building up their hand too. You want that pincer grip. This one's not bad, but it's not my favorite just because you kind of have to bend it, and I don't want kids to play with it. I did have a tack. This is a little tack from my cork board. This one's decent because it's so small. It really forces your hand to use a pincer grip when you're pin pushing. I looked on our tool bench. You could use a screw or a nail, a nice nail. Again, it's nice that it's small. Maybe if you were a sewer and you had some materials, I'm thinking of a seam ripper, that might work. So shoot a message or leave a comment or share some pictures on what worked. Or if you want to be even safe, use like a little ballpoint pen that you can pop out. You'll get markings, but that's okay. It will do the same thing, and I'll kind of show you now. So once you have your shape traced, you're going to pin push all the way around. And you can see like the pen is okay. It's a little big, but it works. It definitely works, and it's a little safer. So you can see how my pin pushing is going. I'll show you a couple others. This is just using, because we're kind of stuck at home, we're being resourceful. This is actually nice. I like the nail. The screw's got a little texture to it. Got a little grip. Might not be my favorite. I do like the tack. I have used the tack before. If you can find those really big tacks that they're almost like an exaggerated tack, those are nice because, again, they kind of force that pincer grip. The safety pin, Not my favorite, but it would work. Make sure their hand is out of the way. And you want them to complete the circle or whatever shape really close to each other, and it's kind of important because I did one already. So this is in progress, and you can kind of see how it's going to look. And this one I started already, you can see. And then at the end, the best part is it's almost like its own little, you can pop it right out of the paper. So if your shape is not coming out really well, you might have the kiddo go back and ask them to add some more so that they're right next door to each other. You know, you really want them close so it's just this easy to take out of their paper. And then they had one little spot that I missed a little bit. Then they have their shape. And then you can use this, you can glue it onto something, you can make a collage, you can continue making these, you can use them and put them on stationery and then write a letter and mail it to a family member or a friend or someone who's in a nursing home. I know a lot of kiddos are doing that. So again, this is one you as a parent will want to supervise. You might have kind of look around and see. I will say I think just a real simple nail or a tack are probably my favorite, or if you want to be a little more cautious, just using a pen, and probably I bet you could even use the head of a pencil. Not quite as good. It would work. It definitely would work. So you want a hard surface that can't be damaged. A cutting board's a great option. Something soft, maybe even if you had a dry sponge, if it was that small. But even a folded cloth just like this works well. You need some shapes and then your tool. So play with it and see what you think. I'd love to see what your kids come up with. They will recognize this from a Montessori classroom, and it's, again, like I said, it's one of my favorites. So I hope you like it. I hope I get to see some of your creations and what you guys have come up with. Have fun. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.